Hello everyone, welcome. For those of you already here or on the replay, close your eyes. I need to zoom in some. I want to make sure we're going to be on the place that I'm working. I'm using the bendy tripod, so hopefully we're good. I'm going to try to remember too, the centerpiece right here is really nice, so it helps me to remember that's where I need to stay. Get my leash all situated. Obviously, I have to open up the laptop still. Refresh, refresh, refresh. Don't forget to switch from top chat to live chat. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Ellen. Oh, yes, I love the fabrics. They're my batiks. Of course, I love them. Excuse me while I reach in front of you. Get you guys situated there. Here is, I'll show this again, but this is last live streams. I went ahead and added the machine stitching just to make sure all the edges are held down. Here is this week's. This one has the, what is that called? Felt, and this one is just batting. While we're waiting for everyone to come in, I'm just adding the quilting hair marker lines on some of my little mini boxy bags and zipper pouches and stuff, just so that at night lately I've just been going through and excuse me, I'm a little scattered today. I'm just going through and adding all the lines, so at night when I only have an hour or so, I can just go ahead and quickly get things quilted. I hope everyone has been having a good week. I went and got a flu shot and a shingles shot on Wednesday, and I'm still slightly recovering from it. I woke up feeling really good, but now as I'm standing here, everything seems to be hitting me again. And vaccines, they're not easy. I know vaccines has a big controversy one way or the other. Obviously, I go on the side of choosing whether or not I want a vaccine, and sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I've been watching, I believe it's Sew the Distance, that's been going through the shingles. Even though she had the shingles vaccine series and stuff, you can still possibly get it. And I thought, you know what, why take the chance and put myself through that when they've done decent amount of research and they've got a new vaccine that's been out for a few years that seems to work pretty well. You know, when we get to a certain age, they're like, hey, you have to start doing vaccines. And then when you go to a new doctor, they always want to do a whole bunch of new tests and this, that, and the next thing until they get used to you and know what you're going to do and not do. I've really been having fun just sitting at night. I usually do it from like maybe 6 to 8, 6 to 7:30, somewhere in there, 6:30 to whatever. Sometime in the evening after everyone's been fed and I've had dinner and the workday is done, and it's just relaxing to, I've been watching Grey's Anatomy. I'm almost caught up to the point where I stopped watching it before, but I restarted it from season 1, episode 1. And then it just, I have that going on, and I just sit there and you're just pushing fabric through the machine because I'm just straight line quilting, so it goes through really quick and easy. There's not much thought process to it other than the prep work. At some point, I might go ahead and get one of those lasers that go on the sewing machine so that I don't have to keep drawing the lines, especially for the number of quilting items that I quilt and the number of quilting lines per project, especially when I cross hatch. I don't think we need one there. It does end up taking a lot of time. Oh, awesome, Jackie. Oh. The final therapy session was the worst of all. Is that like they just like push you to the very limit? And they're like, okay, we're going to let you back out into the world. You're good to go. Let me torture you one last time. You got your another quilt. Ellen, you've been just cranking out those quilts now. I added binding to a sewing machine mat similar to, not this fabric, but similar to that size and stuff. I've got that all finished finally. It'd been sitting for a bit, so that's done. And otherwise, I don't think I've actually finished anything. I did finish my Patreon project. I made a mug rug with them for tomorrow's video, so I did have one finish, but that's it. Hi, Joy T. Joy Ty? Joy T? Lurking and sewing, that's my favorite. Where's my cheat notebook? I have to pull out my cheat notebook where I have everyone's name, right? Make sure this is my notebook. Did I put it in here? Yes, I did. So if we need to do any more cheating names, I can put them down. So if you have a name that's come up there and you want it pronounced a certain way or said a regular name versus your written name, then let me know and I will add you to my list so that I have it ready whenever we go live. And you know me, I forget names until I've said them a few dozen times. See, like I have the Steel Lover on there because now we know when I look right over there, I have my notebook, I can say, hi, Gwen, because I don't know, I would never remember that for some reason. Oh, a 3-hour session. Ouch. That is a rough one. Joy T, I got it. I figured it's Joy T, but then I saw I think it says an I after the T, and I'm like, oh, okay, everyone's a little different. Maybe I got it wrong. Hi, Barb. Ooh. Oh, I did that with my husband all the time. I always put on some type of YouTube video or live stream, and I usually would crochet in the living room or knit, and he would have on movies or football. And we decided that was, after being together for so long, that was the easiest way for us to be together, is if we could each do our own thing, but in the same room. Because after you've been married for a while, it kind of counts, right? Spending time together, even if you're not both doing the same thing. If you're in the same room and you can have a conversation occasionally, then I think it counts. I'm just going to do this last one, and then I'll pull out all the beading stuff. 3 hours is extreme, isn't it? I don't think I've done more than an hour. Some of these I can't see, with the light hitting this ruler and reflecting off of it, I can't see the line that I made. When I'm doing like tote bags or mini quilts, there's usually batting that comes out past it, and I take a pen and I just mark where the lines start and end, and that helps me to see where everything is. Apologies again for my voice. It seems to be a high allergy time right now. We got all that rain the other day. It was great. What's today? Saturday. So it rained Thursday night. Excuse me. I woke up Friday morning to mow. So I went outside to mow at 8 a.m. and it was like 84 out. But there was a bit of humidity out there still, and it was really kind of nice. I enjoyed it because I've never sweat here while mowing. Not like in Florida where it's just dripping off of your nose and your head and, it gets in your eyes, because there's no humidity here. Or not enough humidity to create a problem. So it was really kind of nice. I'm like, ooh, I can breathe today. But then afterwards, it seems to be higher allergies here after the rain, where in Florida, the rain washes out the allergens and it's better after a rain. So I don't know. 6 is 1/2 dozen of the other is what I was always told growing up. Let me put my ruler where it belongs so I don't accidentally break it and or lose it, because that's what I do. Hi, Kathy. It was very nice here with the rain in Arizona, wasn't it? I thought it was great. I enjoyed it greatly. They recommended microwavable heat pads so you don't trip over power cords. Oh, to like hold the power, to lay them on top of the power cords? I don't know. I grew up knowing that you should never put anything over a power cord, except for they had those special plastic tube tunnels like you put on top of it so that the cord could move. Because if you put something on top of a cord, then it's possible that it could cause a fire, electrical fire. It's probably only if there's a break in the wire or the casing or something. I have a really strong respect of electricity, and I usually don't mess with it very much. Alrighty, so just to repeat myself for anyone new that came in since I said it, here is last live stream. I did add sewing stitches on my sewing machine. I think I did a 4.0 stitch length. I think it did it on, yeah, 4.0 on both of them. I just wanted to make sure the edges weren't going to come up because I didn't put a piece of fabric underneath it. So if the edges come up, you'd be able to see the batting, and I didn't want to worry about them. Batiks don't fray that much. You can like pull threads out, but they're pretty good. I was a little worried that it wouldn't look hand stitched, but the floss still shows up a lot. I did use matching thread, so I have an orangey yellow down here and kind of like a cranberry up here. I do have this one section where the yellow came across because the red came down. It doesn't bother me at all. I did the stay stitch all the way around just to hold the edges down, so that as I start working with it and messing around with it, I don't have to worry about the edges or the thread coming out, because I didn't knot the edges of the thread. I just left them hanging over, knowing, and I did a 2.0 stitch length. So that gets you set there for when you're ready to start doing our needle book. I don't know if it's going to be this Friday coming up or the next one. Oh, instead of a heating pad. Gotcha. Yes, no, I have the gel ice packs that I use in the freezer, and I have rice packs that I saved, the ones that I made for Rob when he was dealing with being freezing cold from the cancer treatments. So I saved one of those still so I could throw it in the microwave. I mostly use it for the cats. You would think they'd come up with some type of USB heat pad or something. I think we have like 5 heat pads in the house now of various kinds. And I never think about them. I usually end up going for the cold items, like for my neck and stuff. I went ahead and just changed up. This is the way we were looking at this orientation before, but I think I want this book to be like this. I did my little feather stitching because these are 2 pieces of almost squarish fabric here, and I wanted to go on that seam. And then I just put a matching one over there. And then these are seams in the center. And then you could see the stitching where I just stitched on either side of the overlap, because we really can't call it a seam. I shouldn't call it a seam. It's an overlap there. So I have that. So when I was looking at this, I thought that this would be nice for the spine of the book. So it's a little uneven. I would have to trim it up later, but that's what I have. So we were doing the graduation from the greens and the blues and the greens and the yellows up into the blues. I just really like this blue. I needed a little extra, so I put this blue on that I don't care for up there. But once it's turned into the needle book, it might not even be noticeable because, let's see, 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, it's just over 1/4 of an inch thick there. So it might go right into the seam allowance and not even be noticed. Hi, Yvette Marie. Yeah, I like the gel pads. I've had 2 of them since, I don't know, before 2008. Somewhere between 2002 and 2008. And I love them. They're great for my shoulders and my head and my neck and stuff because they mold around you. I really should invest in one of those cooling shoulder ones that like go over your shoulders like a shawl or something. But they're so big to keep in the freezer. I have a piece, okay, let me backtrack. I pulled out my beads. I have some more, but this is my main selection of beads that I have. I love collecting beads. I try to avoid the bead aisle at like Michael's and Joann's unless they have a sale going on, and then I just love to buy beads. Finishing sewing jelly roll strips into one large piece for a Hemingway bag. That's going to be so pretty. Hello, Audrey. Yep, you're not late. We just started really babbling about the project versus babbling in general. I know it takes a bit for people to get the email or the notification to remember to show up. So I try not to do anything too much, or I'll just repeat myself if I'm too excited and I have to tell you guys right away. So I had this container for the beads. We're just going to ramble a little and then get started. I'm hoping not to go too long today, maybe an hour worth of the project past the rambling. So I do go and I get the beads on a string from Michael's and Joann's. I also buy things like beaded bracelets. This one, let me show you up close. This has little, can you see the little pumpkin face on there? I know it's not, there it is. The little pumpkin face is on there. So this was like a $1 beaded bracelet, but I like the pumpkin beads, so I grabbed it. These are the ones that I bought from Joann's Closeout just because I liked them. They weren't $10.99, they were much more off. And this is really great because I have these cabochons. I love cabochons. These are the things that I want to do for beaded embroidery. But I was buying things off of eBay and other sites and stuff years ago, and I have these 2 seahorses. And I just want to make them into something, so I try to collect ocean colors. Hold on, we've got to pause. Mimoka, my medium calico, is giving me sad and pathetic eyes because she's only eaten a bunch of times today, and she's starving, the poor thing. There you go, sweetie. You want to eat? Oh, here, I'll put it right there for you. Is that how you want it? There you go. Okay? Oh, right there for you. That's for you. Right there. You didn't want the bowl, now you want the bowl? Because you're pretty princess? Do you want the bowl in the bowl like that? Is that what you want? Okay. My cats are spoiled. Sometimes they want to eat the food right like on a table. Sometimes they want it in their cat bowl. And I also have these ceramic bowls that raise up their bowls so it's easier to digest and it doesn't hurt their neck, and it avoids whisker fatigue. So today she wanted her food in the bowl and in the bowl stand. So whatever, anyway. So I have these. Yeah, they're just flat backed, some type of whatever that material is, resin or something like that. So I've been, like I said, I've been buying a lot of the ocean colors and stuff. Plus, I really just want to do a combination of embroidery, cross stitch, quilting, and beadwork, and I want to make a piece of art, an under the water scene, kind of like coral and fish and just like seaweed and stuff and all the different creatures. That's going to be like my That's my dream project. If I get to it, I get to it. If I don't, I can at least enjoy dreaming about it. So I have those, and I buy the little packets whenever I see them. Like sometimes Etsy will have beads and it'll be like 25 cents or $1 a packet. So I pick those up. Just random. I love buying things called bead soup where they just give you a bunch of random beads. I'll even take things that are meant to be like a necklace or something, and I'll just save it. This I think is a bracelet or an anklet, and I'll save it. Now, like I love these beads. Like this is for I can't tell on my phone. My phone looks so dark. Oh, there, I should look at the computer. So these are blue leaves, and there's pewter leaves and green ones and stuff. And that would be really fun. But for this project, I'm going to go with more of the flatter small beads. So just to show one more thing. I used to collect the metal tins for various things. So I have this one, and I have all of my other beads that I've collected. I'd purchased one of those plastic cross-stitching boxes like this with the small bins, and it had all of these beads separated in it, but the lady didn't realize that during shipment all the beads would be able to move. She didn't like saran wrap it or tape it or anything, so they're all mixed up. So sometimes it's kind of fun to just work through that. So you could buy beads like that, and today I have a pack of, I'm sorry if I'm loud. I keep forgetting I have a microphone. I have the Dollar Tree beads. They're work too. I'm not making like fancy jewelry or anything like that. This is probably Joann's. And then these are like official glass beads that the bead people use. Those are fun to have. This is like Walmart. But they're the fun sea colors again. Turquoise and white and stuff. So I just keep everything in here, and whenever I find something, I put it in. You know how it is. You buy a fabric and you collect it, and maybe at some point you'll use it and maybe not. Doesn't really matter. You have it and you like it, right? Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. And I do the same thing with beads and embroidery floss. I used to have beading thread, the special, I think it's Nymo thread or whatever it is. Today I'm just using the Coats & Clark Dual Duty. This is a polyester thread. It's in like a nice light seafoamy green color. I thought that would work perfect, so I went and took my project, and just as if I was quilting it. Now the beads, the thread shouldn't show very much, but I want my thread to match my beads and my work. So when I put this on, it just blends right in, you know. I don't know if you can even see it right here. So I thought that's perfect. And polyester is nice and sturdy. I can always double it up if I want. I do have, this is Walmart. These are so old, but it's a pack of beading needles. I don't bead enough that I bend my needles like other bead workers do because I don't bead enough. I have an old piece of, it feels like felt, that I use to put down. You want a beading mat so your beads don't roll over everywhere. You could put a piece of batting down, a piece of fleece. You can have it right on your table if you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Some people will take like their lid from a container, like a Tupperware or something, and turn it upside down. Paper plates, regular plates. I even have beads in Ziploc bags because I'm fancy like that. All right, we'll keep this one up here because it's just pretty. And I'll put all of my beads here. Now, I'm not doing anything fancy, and I purposefully did not go and watch beading videos. I'm just going by my knowledge that I remember, and I'm going to make it up as I go. Because I want you to know that if you have no idea what you're doing, it's okay. I probably should get my thimble, though. I knew there was something I forgot. Let's see if I can find it real quick. If I can't, then we won't use it. Hello, Mr. Thimble. Looks like we're not using it today. Whatever. I put it somewhere for safekeeping, knowing that we were going to do this video. So you know, I have no idea where it is, right? Yep. Make enough noise, Robin. Make enough noise. I still love my little milk can. Excuse me. Oh well, life goes on. Worst case scenario, I get a little hole in my finger. What else is new? Okay, so I have my piece, and if you're going to be hand beading on it, I'm going to turn it this way. If you're going to hand bead on it, make sure it's something thin. That's why I didn't put that stiff felt on the back. I actually did, and since it was just spray adhesive, I just pulled it off and put new spray adhesive on, and I already had the batting there. It makes it easier to go through, right? We don't want to struggle and make it harder for ourselves. If you've ever sewn with like leather or anything like that, you already have an idea of the difficulty. Now, I don't have any embroidery floss with me, but you could do a combination of beadwork and embroidery floss. It's your project, right? You could do anything you want. Oh my. This is so old from the Dollar Tree. See, glass beads, unless they break, I don't know if they become brittle or not, but I've had glass beads for years. And I thought I was being too cheap getting beads at the Dollar Tree, but I see a lot of beaders say, hey, just go to the Dollar Tree if you're not doing like this really expensive fancy project and you just want to do some beadwork, then go to the Dollar Tree and get what they have. Why not, right? It's just like the same thing with the knitters and crocheters, you know, using Red Heart. How dare you use Red Heart? How dare you not be able to open your beading container? Oh my goodness, I'm going to make a mess, watch. You know, we use what we like, what we're used to, and what we have access to, and what we can afford. There's tape on it, no wonder why. My hands are very shaky today. Just ignore all parts of Robin. She's got brain fog and shaky hands and scratchy voice. just me today. If you've been here for a while, we go through it all the time. One more. Why would I do prep work ahead of time? Hey, I got this piece ready ahead of time. I'm going to take credit for that now. That was pretty good. So is anyone else, darn it, played with beads? Am I the only collector here? Beads and plastic are very static, clingy. And this is why it's good to have a surface to work on. If they get mixed up, they get mixed up. That's life. Like I said, I love bead soup. Okay. So you can take a few beads out and put it down. I was thinking that on one side, maybe to like make a flower, and on the other side, maybe just we'll start with showing how to add beads. Like on my stitching here, the braided looking stuff, whatever. You know, you can add a bead to the end. So we're going to start by, there's a lot of videos out there. I would take shaking hands over having no legs. I agree. Well, I agree, but conversationally while sitting here, see, there's never really too much of a good thing, really, like you can choose one way or the other. While sitting here doing my crafting, I would rather have hands over legs. Dear universe, I'm not asking you to make my life harder by making me choose between my hands and my legs. I'm just having a conversation with my friends here. Just a regular conversation, universe. Just keep going on. I would find it difficult if I could not craft at all. And I'm not flexible enough to craft with my feet. So I want hands, but I would rather have shaky hands over not being able to use my hands at all. Definitely. But some people do have shaky hands to where they can't do anything. You know, Parkinson's and other nerve things. So the beading needles have different lengths, and I guess it just depends on how many beads and how far you want to go and stuff. I'm just going to take the middle one, because what if I want the longer one later? I want to also grab out my regular needles. Hope you guys can hear me even with the commercial. Okay, now this is a beading needle, but if you go through your regular needles, if you're just like, hey, look, I picked up some beads, Robin, I'm hanging out with you, and you didn't mention beading needles, so I didn't think about it. So you can go through your needles and find something with a small shaft, I think it might be called, and you also want it so that the needles like this that we use for yarn, they tend to bulb out right there. So you want something that the eye of the needle is the same width as the length of the needle, or the shaft, or the leg, or whatever it might be called. And then you take it to your beads, and I usually take the eye of the needle and just see if it'll go through my beads. Then I don't even need that special beading needle. So I might take that beading needle and just put it right there. And then just do it with a regular one. So if you have something that's longer, oh, I have a long one. I can feel a longer needle in my hands and have better control over it than a shorter needle. So all of these fit through all of these beads. Now I might have to change it if I use the other beads, but I can just use a regular needle. Hi, Janice. Ooh, a rag quilt. I haven't made one of those in a while. Excuse me. I tested my thread. It's polyester. I'm not trying to break it now because I don't want to weaken this bit again. But sometimes with a cotton thread, if you can just break it really quick, for a project like this, it's not a problem because you're not wearing it as jewelry. You're going to be using it, so you might expect a little wear and tear. But there's things we can do to protect the integrity of our thread and our beading by like tying off knots and going through things twice. But a polyester thread works really well. You can even use embroidery floss. Just pull out one strand. So remember our trick of leaving it on the spool. I fold it over so that I have a loop right there. I usually just put my needle through it so I can get it flat at the top. And then make sure the eye of the needle's facing down. Wiggle it. I find that is the best thing for me. I think that I'm just going to go... Oh, I'm going to go with a double thread because there's a couple techniques that I like. Now, you don't want to go with a really long bit because your thread's going to go through the beads, which tend to be a little rough sometimes in the center. And also, you're going through your project over and over again, so it wears on your thread. While I do a lot with embroidery floss, I try to keep my thread to go from my fingertip to, including the needle, to my elbow bend, just to make sure that it's not too long. It's one of those things you're just going to have to rethread it a lot. I put a little knot on the end. Again, not a fancy project. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see, but I'm going to talk you through a lot of it. And again, you can watch other videos. I have embroidery stitch videos, but I don't think I have anything for beading particularly. And you can watch people that do it professionally and do really big close-ups. I can zoom in more if you need me to. Just let me know. Jody's here. Oh, hang out with us, Jody. Yep, you can listen. We're just doing a little bead work. Yvette Marie has tons of beads, used to bead all types of jewelry. Oh. Yes, arthritis can make it very difficult, 100%. We have to either not do something or adjust. Like I've had to learn different ways to crochet and knit to accommodate my shoulder. And then I can't do much EPP and hand sewing and stuff because I just can't hold the needle that much and see that well. But if I use a magnifying glass and I take my time and I can do it, but there's just so many other things I'd rather do. So I just don't I didn't EPP that much to begin with, so I just don't do it now. All right, I'm going to start. I'm going to consider this my top. I'm going to start just down here. And I'm going to stay at least, I'm going to say an inch-ish, which is from the tip of your finger to your first little bend joint there for most people, but you can kind of just guess. I'm going to go say about an inch. So I think I'll start right here in this section. I'm going to come up just past where my stitching went down for feather stitch. That's what I call it. So I'm just going to go just to the end of it because I want to add a bead like it's a berry on a vine. We're not going to do this whole thing. I'll do a few and then move on to something else. So I have a knot at the end. However you want to do it, just a knot is fine. It's going to be the inside. Nobody's going to see it. I have 2 strands, so I'm going to pick the bead that I want to go at the end. And I can do the same color all the way up, or I can mix them and maybe like alternate or something. So I think it's very hard to decide here, just like it is hard to decide with fabric and stuff. But I have these little short bugle beads. I'll just go ahead and put that on. A bugle bead is one that's like if you took a straw and cut it versus like a round bead. So I just put it through there, put it all the way down. It's going to lay flat, and I will move it so that the bead is close to the part of the stitching where, so that the bead, you can't, you're going to see a little bit of the thread is what I'm saying. So I push the bead down as far as I can, and I'll go into the fabric right at the end of the bead, or even just a little bit underneath it. We're talking micro bits. We're not talking even 1/8 of an inch here. We're doing like millimeters. I did not wax my thread, so it will probably get stuck a lot. So now that bead, if you're just starting out, that bead's done. If you're not making too much of a big deal, or maybe you're using pony beads to practice or something. One second, I got to put away the cat food. Because little s'moresies will get a tummy ache from that cat food. But if you want something that's going to be secure and last for a while, you go back up just underneath the beginning where you first went up. And because I have my thread doubled, I don't want to go through the same hole. So I have my thread doubled. I can split my thread so that it has 2 pieces. It's twisted and everything, again, because I didn't do anything. So I use my needle to split the thread down here. So if I put 1 piece of the thread on the left of the bugle bead and 1 piece on the right, that will help secure it in place. So the bugle bead will be here, and I'll have a thread on either side that's going to come up from here and split, and I'm going to put it back down. And that's going to keep that bead from rolling everywhere. It's going to hold it in place, if that makes sense. And I go back down. It takes a little bit of practice. You can do this with larger beads to get an idea. And that thread is just going to go down on either side, and it locks that bead in place. And I've also put extra thread now so that if anything breaks, you know, the other thread will hold it on so that I can see that it's loose or something and go back through and fix it. And I have a little bitty loop of thread there that just won't get sucked back in. So I'm just going to come back up, and I'm going to tuck that thread down and tie a knot in it like that. Suck it back into the piece. Now I'm going to find my beeswax so I can wax that thread up a little bit. A nylon-y type thread works really well because it'll go in and out of your fabric a lot smoother. Come on, beeswax. I know you're somewhere. It'll keep it, you know, it goes through fabric smoother because I'm going through batting, and a batik is a little bit stiff. Oh, hi, Honeydew. Honeydew, is that the name you go by, Honeydew, or would you like us to call you your, well, whatever different name? I don't want to say like your real name or something, but whatever. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you can make it and hang out with us a little bit. So I just have this chunk of beeswax. Sometimes it needs to be warmed up. Oh. Well, that's fun, Yvette Marie. It's kind of fun to make your own jewelry to fit your design style and stuff. And like you can match colors to your outfit. So now I have a bugle bead. Now mine aren't going to be standing out dramatically. It's just going to be blending in with the color. And when you're sitting here and not chatting with everyone, it does go a lot quicker. I have a little bit of that oopsie there, and you can always, if you have the thread that can be noticeable, you can always go through with a marker and just touch it a little bit. I can already tell that I'm probably not going to be happy using this thread, but it is what it is. Now, when you're buying, I don't know how it is if you were to buy like expensive fancy beads. I haven't never been to a bead store. I've only seen them like online and stuff. It would be, I think they're still like irregulars, like they're not going to always be the same size. And sometimes your needle won't fit through the hole of one, even though, you know, everything's good. I think I'm going to definitely need to switch. I'm sorry, I said honey-do. I knew as soon as I said it that it sounded like I might have said dude. My apologies. It's just my accent and my horrible voice at the moment. My apologies. I lived in Florida for 42 years, and everyone says I have a weird southern accent, and I tend to make up things, so I have to apologize. Hi, Laura. Though dudes are welcome here, we have some gentlemen that like to hang out with us periodically. And we have some ladies that use their husbands' login names because it's just easy. All right, I'm going to tie a knot here, and I would anyways. I'll just go to either my sewn thread or where this thread come over. And every so often I like to put a knot in it just because by adding that knot, you're going to have a cutoff point. So if a thread breaks or snags on something, it can only unravel and lose the beads as far as, you know, that knot. So you're not going to lose everything. But I have this nylon sewing thread. Where did you tuck it away, Robin? Here we go. Someone sent me this thread. It's Deco Bob pre-wound something or another. But it's more of that nylon-y type of thread. I'm going to have to purchase some beading thread. That's all there is to it. But I can go ahead and use this. And I guess I'll just use the white. It'll be fine. Maybe this will go through a little bit easier. I just make do. I lived in Cape Coral, Florida. We moved here to Surprise, Arizona last year. I lived there from age 13 to, hold on, I don't know how old I am. So 53, 54, 55, 55 maybe. Yeah, I'm 56, so I was 55. You know, I think after a certain point, I just don't pay attention to the age. Oh, this one does not want to be threaded. Probably doesn't help that I have batting fuzz on my fingers. So remember, there's always the do what you can with the best. Grandma always said, do the best you can with the tools you have on hand. So if this is all you have on hand, just find a thread that's going to work until you decide if you enjoy it, and then you can go out and find more proper tools. So I skipped 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I think this is going to be one of those things that it's not super noticeable unless you have it in your hand. As we get going, I'll pick it up and show the camera again, and we'll go from there. You can't see the beads? These are Dollar Tree beads, and I don't think it says a size. These beads are Rocals, and that doesn't say anything. I don't know what these are. Like I said, I just randomly get beads, but they are, let me pull them up to the camera. Again, Dollar Tree beads. You can use whatever size you want. There's my thumb. So they're tiny, tiny, tiny beads. I don't think I have anything in here that has a size on it. Yeah. They're just like, I know you can get beads on strings at all different sizes, but they're mostly the ones that come on the little strings. I have teeny tiny kind and a little bit bigger, but again, it's just Dollar Tree. And I'm really terrible because I can't tell you what size anything is because I have no idea. Good morning, good afternoon, Denise. Oh, you're in Tampa. Yeah, you're just north of where we were. All of my kids were born in Cape Coral or Fort Myers, and they're in their late 20s and 30s. Oh, wow, Laura. Yeah, sometimes you just can't just get enough in you. You have to have the IV, unfortunately. I know the bead people, they talk all the numbers and they know all the things, and I'm just dabbling, so I'm just kind of getting whatever I have. So if you want to try this project, the ones from the Dollar Tree, they have them set in colors like this, or they'll have like a round circle wheel thing, and they might even have the thread for like bracelets, the elastic and stuff like that. You could use elastic for this. I'm not a huge fan of it for projects like this, but it can be done if that's all you have. But again, sewing thread and embroidery floss will work the same way. I have to remember to stay. I tend to bring things close to my body when I'm working on them. I've noticed a lot in my videos. This is a little bit far away, but, and then I count 1, 2, 3, and then go to the other side. And it's kind of like seaweed coming up from the ocean floor. So I'm going to put just one more on, and I'm going to show you another way to do this here to give a little bit more excitement. For those of you that are just popping in, I did mention early on that if you need really good, detailed, in-depth, a tutorial, it'd be best to look for them. Bead embroidery videos online, because I'm just grabbing up here at the top to find the center to split my thread. They do a much better job because they have the good cameras and they zoom in and they have all the knowledge and the stuff. Here in Robin's World, we're just kind of making things up as we go. If it works, it works. All right, so I'm going to put a knot in this. And what's good is with the batting and stuff, we can just go through the batting. You can single knot it or double knot it. This thread is going through the more nylon-y. That seems, even though it's polyester, it felt very cottony. So that's, that's something there. It's something you want smooth that's going to go through. All right, so if I go up to the next one, I'm going to come up through the top. And you can add a lot of beads on and make like a dangle or something that sticks straight up off of it. You can also add a bugle bead and then add one of the smaller beads. So I have one of these of a bugle bead. I have this, and then I put this one on afterwards. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through 2 of those, and when I go back through, I'm going to skip this bead and just go through the bugle bead, and that's going to make a little dangly thing that sticks off the top. So if you could stack a bunch of them on, and it really does give that look of seaweed. Hi, Tracy. Hello to everyone. If I missed you, my apologies. And hello to all of our lurkers that are just listening. Tri-dazzle table runner. That sounds just fancy and fun. Okay, so the bugle bead is on, and then I have this little top bead, and I'm going to leave this one little bead a little bit away so that I can go back down through the bugle bead. Probably should have, again, not the best, but if we did a white mixed fabric or light colors and then put the dark beads on top, we could have seen it. So we have, there's our bugle bead that can stand up, and then there's that other bead like a stopper bead. So this one I only went through once, and the bugle I went through twice, so up through both. And then I skipped this bead so it has a loop going over it, and then I went down through there. Mostly what I wanted to show on these is that, how did you fall out of my pocket? Is that we can kind of just sit and chat. We like to do that during live streams instead of just sewing nonstop. And there's just different things you can do with the slow stitching and some of the things that you have on hand. Sometimes you can get the embroidery floss at the Dollar Tree and the beads and needles, and you'll be in good shape. Hi, Kathy. This is from our last live stream with slow stitching. I'm going to make 2 needle books, so eventually it's going to look like this. I'll do the finishing of this on a Friday tutorial. I'm not going to guarantee this Friday, but it will be very soon. So this Friday or next Friday. And then I'll put these, both of these will probably go in the shop. So the last live stream, which was on August 2nd, we did this. We did it a little stiffer. I have the stiff felt on it. Then I realized it hurt my fingers. So I just have batting underneath here. I did stitch, it's just batiks laid down with spray basting. And then I stitched over it like I would my fabric postcards, just to keep everything in place and not worry about any of the edges fraying. So some people like to put several of the bugle beads or longer ones, and then it does that. If you put it on and you decide you don't like it, you can cut the thread, or you can always come back through and pick a spot where that first bead, the little round one, would lay down, and you can just tack it down by coming up through the fabric, down through the bead, and it'll hold it in place. So whatever you're looking for. So that just adds a little bit of whimsy. If a needle book, it'll work. You can have the beads sticking up and floating around, like I said, like seaweed and stuff. But sometimes it's nice just to have it flat if it's going to be going in and out of a bag with you to quilt meets or wherever you're using it for, because it's needle books. You could put any kind of needles in. Again, I do have a regular needle that just happens to have a very tiny eye, and it fits through my beads. It might not fit through these beads because they're even smaller. I can't look at beads and tell you exactly what they are. I don't have the eye for that. Now, I also have these little ones. They almost look like they're going to glow in the dark. So I have other bugle beads I can add on still. 1, 2, 3. I'm just trying to space them out so they're not everywhere. And you can add a couple. There's little tiny spoons that you can get to spoon out your beads. I stopped talking while waiting for my ad to go. So let's see, I have 5. And then because you know the art world likes odd numbers. You can take your needle and just go in, and a lot of times you can just grab a bead. They have, I like those bead bowls that spin, and you have this really flexible like wire needle that you put on there, and as the bowl's spinning, the force of it just puts them all onto your needle. That's really cool. So now you'll really be able to see. So I have that one bead at the top that I'm going to skip, and then I'm going to feed my needle back through each of the bugles. Now you may need to do this more than once to secure it tightly back through my fabric. Sometimes you have to hold that thread to keep it from getting all twisted and knotted and not going through evenly since I have it doubled. Now if you ever see those landscape beaders that do a combination of beading and embroidery on Instagram for a 3D effect, there you go. Can you see that sticking up there? You can have it sticking up, or it can just lay down flat, whatever works for you. But that's a way to do that. Whoa, sat on my pillow and almost fell on the floor. That's a way to do that also. And again, you can stitch it down. If you decide you don't like it up and you don't want to cut your thread, you can always just stitch it down, maybe going off in that direction. So since I came out at the bottom of this whatever tassel, I'm going to come back out there. And what I'm going to do to hold this down is I'm going to go through 3 of the beads. And then wherever I want to, just to anchor down, right there where those 3 beads are, I'm going to go back in to the back. And this will keep it nice and in a row, and instead of flopping all over the place. And then I can come back up and go through those last couple. That's why having that Nymo thread is really thin, and it allows you to go through the beads more than once. So you can line them up, put it back down. I'm going to catch up on everyone. Thanks, Kathy. A crochet throw that was started 15 years ago. Nice to get that finished. And then if you notice that it's still kind of flopping everywhere, you can do that trick where you come up near the end without coming through the bead. I notice even the really beaders that like bead like we quilt like a lot, sometimes they had to go up and through the fabric a few times to get it exactly where they want. Split my thread since it's doubled and let it go on either side of my long line and back down at the end, and that'll secure those beads from rolling everywhere. Sometimes you need a little laying tool or just a pin that helps you get it where you need it to. It's being stubborn. And if that didn't do what you wanted, there's also the couching method where you can come up on one side where between a couple beads and then go back down on the other side, and that'll hold it in place. And you can do that with like that furry fancy yarn. You can do it with rows of beads, whatever works for you. Yeah, I've seen people with cystic fibrosis, they have that little backpack, so when they have to have the IV antibiotics and stuff, they just take it with them everywhere so they're not stuck. It's bad enough to be sick or to be dealing with some type of chronic illness. to end up being stuck at home or bedbound or something. So it allows you, if you're capable, to still get out and about. I think it's the greatest thing. Don't forget to stay hydrated. Some people take their string of beads and they just lay it down as is and use one of those techniques to put it into place without even taking it off of the string or whatever that's in there holding them in place. As long as the beads stay on and it looks good, I really don't think you're, again, how can you really do it wrong, right? It's like quilting. Do you enjoy it? Did it stay in place and not fall apart? Then, hey, you did a great job. I'm going to put a double knot at the end. Now, little beads like this, okay, before I say that, I'm going to take this, I can either cut it off, or if I have a back, if I had a backing on it, but I was still going to put like another one, like a piece of leather or something. Sometimes people like to do just like we do in quilting, and you just take your end and you bury it in between, making sure you don't come all the way out. And then cut your thread. That way you can like bury your knot and not cut it really close to the edge. Some people like to put glue on when they put the other piece of leather, suede, something on the back. I really had fun hanging out in the beading communities because what they do... Oh, what did I miss? What did I miss? Oh, the UFO. Okay, gotcha. No, I'm not currently driving. There's a trick that for the people that do the bead embroidery and they make them into like pins, they like to put a piece of leather material on the back. And what they do is they go and drive around neighborhoods, or if they have their own old leather furniture. And if there's a leather couch out to the road, you know how the leather seats can kind of get worn out and it kind of just, it's no good. It really needs to just go in the trash. No one's going to really pick it up and keep it. So they go to the back of the couch and double check that it's still leather at the back of the couch and the sides of the couch. And you can cut that out. And you have this huge piece of leather from a couch or a chair or even a pillow for free. And how many projects that are only this big can you make from the back of even a love-seated couch with 2 seats on it? That's a lot of material. But they say, you know, be careful. You really don't want to destroy a good couch that someone might want to pick up off the curb and use for themselves. But it's already worn out if there's rips and tears in it. Because some people put their furniture to the road and they'll like slice it with a knife because they don't want anyone to take it for whatever reason. They bought it, whatever their reason is and they want to do, I'm not going to, you know, give them a hard time. But even if someone sliced through the seats, again, you could take it from the back of the couch and you can get it. But you have to be careful because sometimes there's real leather on the front and cheap faux leather type material on the back. So if you want real leather, just be careful and make sure it's real. It's kind of nice that we're all following Laura's journey and, you know, wishing her well and health and stuff, and seeing as you start to feel better every time we go on a live stream. So I'm glad every time we hear that something's improving and you're starting to feel better. Now, when you put thread on the bobbin, you take it from the spool and the beginning of it is there. So in this case, if you wanted to, you could take it all the way off, cut it, and thread your needle from the other side. If you notice a bunch of twisting and stuff, I didn't have any problem this last time because it's like pulling it off of the spool, and instead of threading it from here, pulling it all the way off and threading it from there. Just something to keep in mind. Didn't work. I think I would definitely want to wear my magnifying glasses doing beadwork, like, you know, serious beadwork, it would make it a lot easier so you can see every little detail that you need to, especially if you're using like white thread. Oh, you're very welcome. It's nice just to, even if you're at home and you can't go anywhere, it's nice to go online and go somewhere and hang out with friends. And even though you're giving health updates, you're really kind of still doing something that's not all about your health and talking about other things. Yeah, exactly, Jody. You can buy something like that. Oh, Jody, can I tell you guys some secrets here? I've been playing with the Missouri Star tools, and Jody was the person that was kind enough to send me the Kai scissors. Now, let me start out by saying these everyday scissors from Missouri Star, they have a nice weight to it. They cut really well. They are an upgrade from the Walmart and Dollar Tree scissors that I normally buy, but they cannot compare to Jody's Kai scissors. Those Kai scissors are so amazing. I will use these and cut batting and fabric and all kinds of stuff and not worry about it. But I'm sure that these are going to dull. But those Kai scissors are just amazing. I've been cutting through the zippers, the nylon zippers, and anything I want. I don't cut through cardboard and stuff, but whatever I'm crafting with. And those Kai scissors, knock on wood, still haven't dulled. I love them. I mean, if you're a multi-crafter, I think Kai scissors are great. If you're just a quilter and you're just going to cut fabric, like if you're cutting when you sew the binding together and you're just cutting off the sewn seams and stuff, or at your sewing machine, these are going to be great. I'll keep one of these at my sewing machine. This little pair would be really great for doing like applique, delicate and detailed applique. But Kai has all of those sizes too, and they're superior. They really are. I think of you every time I use them, Jody. I'm very, very grateful to you for sending them. They are like the best things I've ever cut with. Laura, I'm always happy. I'm glad we can always help anyone. You know, when we're having down days, we come here. I've had people in the past yell at me like, okay, first of all, like there's a hurricane off the coast of Florida, off the east coast of Florida. And we could go and talk about that a lot and worry about all our friends, but I know enough about hurricanes. I've been watching the trend of it. It did go from a 1 to a 5 overnight, which is super scary. It's not a full fish storm where it's all the way out in the Atlantic. They are going to get some outer bands along the East Coast and stuff. But while you're waiting for that to come, sometimes you just want to come and hang out and just talk crafty stuff with friends. We don't talk political because that really gets people upset and it gets everyone worked up and everyone has a strong opinion. But you can come here and know that, no, I'm not going to talk about the latest political stuff or a war in another country. Those things are important, but I feel like it's important or even more important to have a space where you can come, hang out with friends, chat, and, just escape for a little bit. We're not ignoring the world and we're not hiding and burying our head in the sand. We're just making sure that we have a moment to breathe. And those Kai scissors, we could talk all day about those. I've only cut myself once. And that's because I was doing some type of intricate, fusible thing and I cut myself because I'm clumsy. Now on this side, I was thinking we can do like flower beads. The little beads can be used in place of French knots. So those of you that can't do French knots and just don't want to do French knots, you can put a bunch of beads in the center of a flower and then we can make daisy stitches going around it. So let's see if we have something we can put in here. Now, just like everything else, we can put beads right on our project to see how they look. I'm going for that very subtle look, so I'm not having a bunch of like using yellow or something. I'm just sticking with the same color palette. I really like these light green ones. So let me put those back in there, even though I don't think this is going to stay neat for very long. So for doing French knots, we're just going to put beads like we would make French knots. So I think I'm going to take my little Hera marker here, and we'll look at this. Okay, it's going to be like this. So there's a Benjamin in the center. So maybe I want to put something right. Maybe I want to put something right here. I don't even really have to mark it. I can just think about right there. You can also look at these like fireworks coming out, and you could do your beadwork within them just like we would with our embroidery stitches. You have little circles that you can put beads on to decorate it that way, and you don't have to think about it. You could follow the vein of the leaves. So there's a lot of things you can do with your fabric without having to know how to be creative, because if you don't do it a lot, you can say, well, I'm not very creative, Robin, I can't figure it out. Find fabric that has flowers on it and add beads to the flowers. You're just adding a little extra. You're taking a quilted wall hanging or a small project, and you're just adding a little something to it. I have Christmas stockings that I just added some beadwork to the design that's on there to give it a little excess accent. Yeah, you need a moment to breathe. You can't be, we learned during 911 that we can't, 9/11, sorry. I was thinking about ambulances yesterday. You can't be in that moment constantly. If you're not living in that moment yourself, like you weren't part of it with family members, you're just reacting to like the news and stuff, you can't constantly be doom and gloom. It really messes with us. We have to have a moment. And I could be sitting here, this relaxes me. So maybe I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about something in my life. Okay, I went through it with the 2 strands of thread. I could lay it flat, or I can leave it standing straight up like this. And when I come down, I'll put my thread on either side of it to help hold it in place. And having other beads around it will also keep it upright. I think these are glass beads. Yeah, even the Dollar Tree ones, it says glass beads on it. Let me pull that out from over here. Let's see what they have where I haven't ripped the tape off. Yeah, these just say glass beads on it. Oh, imported, Volvo, Canada, China. Not a toy. Yeah, it doesn't have an actual size on it or anything. It doesn't tell you what the size holes are or anything. It just says glass beads, and they're just Dollar Tree ones. You could use plastic beads, of course. I just prefer glass beads because they add that little shimmer to it. Yeah, if the Kai scissors are a little expensive, but they're a lifetime scissor. I think there's a lifetime warranty on it. I could be wrong, but I know that I watched other multi-crafters cut all kinds of things with their Kai scissors. They cut leather, they cut cardboard, they cut paper and stuff, and they're like, I've had my Kai scissors for 2 years and I haven't had to sharpen them yet. So I wasn't paying attention and I didn't split it. So I'm just going to go through that bead a second time. And my first thread is at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to come back and stitch it down at 6 o'clock. And that'll keep my bead upright. Now, if you put enough beads next to each other, they're going to stand up anyways. So use a thread that blends in so you can't see it. I was told that when you're sewing beads, if they have a color inside, like some of these have a different color inside them, like if it's more of a black on the inside and orange on the outside, you want to match the inside hole of the bead, so whatever color is on the inside, that's what you'll match. Yeah, there's a pricey set. Get the cheaper set. If you're going to get good scissors anyways, then, you know, may as well get a set of them. The serrated are nice. I love serrated scissors. I have a small K Buckley, I think it's called. You know, sharp enough where you have to, anything that has a cover on it, then I know the point is generally sharp. So then you get those and they stay sharp all the way to the tip, and they're serrated. They hold the fabric, so when you're cutting it, like you said, with the slipperier fabrics, and they're just really nice for detail work. So I come up, I'll put another bead in. You know, maybe you want to put a couple beads in. Maybe you want to put a few different colors on to blend it. So let's see if I can split my thread and if that'll do anything. I think I'm just going to have to say, okay, Robin, you're talking in the video. Let's just let each of the beads hold each other up. So some of them will lay down, some of them will stand up, and I'm not going to be particular. You could draw a little circle. You could do the beads on the outside first and fill it in. I'm just kind of sticking them in and going from there. And again, it is what it is. Now you can mix a couple of other colors in if you don't want them to all be the same. You can have it a little bit messy. You can have it all nice and neat. This one is one of those like iridescent, like an oil spill type thing. So let me add one of those on just to add a little bit to it. And after you get a bunch in, you'll notice that maybe some spots aren't as full. So maybe you'll want to add an extra one in just to fill it up. And you can have it like rounded up, because I think the center of a flower, okay, that bead is not going on my needle. Oh, there we go. Put you over there. See, sometimes the holes are smaller and they won't fit on the needle. Yeah. I keep thinking I want to call it a pin. But if it doesn't, that's when you have that beading needle that's so thin, and you can tell when people use it a lot because it ends up with a curve. Kai has a rotary cutter? Wow. I've heard the Martelli are pretty good. Yeah, I don't want a flat center, so I'm just going to grab some of the random colors because they're all green. They're all going to match. I have the bead is just sitting on my needle. I come up in a spot where there's an empty space. And then I'm like, okay, let me grab a bead. And that too. I just leave it on the needle. You can drop it down on the thread if you want. Then I find my spot to go back down in, and it'll eventually get there and stay in place. Let's see if we can get... You see it? Oh yeah, you guys can see it. Well, it's a little blurry, but you can see how I'm creating this little center of a flower there. Ooh, Arizona's got 7 campuses across Tucson and Phoenix. Isn't that nice? Thank you so much for letting me know. I do like the mixing of the colors. Hi, Sue. Oh my. Tubing on the lake. Wow. Sue, you're becoming such an adventurer. I think it's like the people that use the Martelli rotary cutters, anything is a little expensive, right? There's always a chance. If you're going to get a good tool, it can be a little expensive. I've heard or have seen, I've looked them up a little bit and they're a little expensive. But when you use a new tool like that, and if you can get used to doing something a little bit differently and you fall in love with it, then the people that use it all the time, they love it. But I know not everyone goes and tries the new tools. They have the ones that the rotary cutter like hooks into the ruler. I think that's really great for someone who has like a little tremor or something and they still want a rotary cut. It'll stay right in and hook in there. So hopefully that will make it so that those people can also still cut and everything. Everyone needs to be cautious about your wrist. You don't need to get bumped around. Gosh darn it. There's another one. So the light green ones are really nice, but they are varying in size of the hole, and a lot of them have a small hole. Now there are bead reamers or something. There's a little tool you can put inside a bead to kind of open up the hole a little bit if it's a little too small, because sometimes they're just, I mean, they're glass beads. They're not going to be perfect, right? So they have things that you can do like that. They should force you to get out. Oh, you guys can get them over there too. That's good. I think everyone should be able to have access to things, right? Oh, maybe, do you think I should add a few little blues in there? Oh, how about this one? You have to be careful because I think even brand new, these caps basically just sit on there. So it's really easy, and clumsy people like me have to be careful. So I'm just gonna, oh, that's a bugle size. That's a regular size. How about just a light one? And just in case you're curious, sometimes I do just still talk to myself even when I'm alone. What do you think, Robin? You think that one would look good? I don't know. Let me, oh, hey, look at, there's a good one for you. Keep myself occupied. I gotta have that constant stream in my head, I guess. So let's put on this little blue guy here and see what he looks like. Oh yeah, he blends in nicely. I've made do when I've had to, because that's just how I was raised and that's where my finances were. Oh, every now and then stop and make a knot. Don't forget to make a knot, because again, if the thread breaks, you want to make sure that all the beads don't come off, just a few. I forgot to do that. But when you, like when I first started quilting, I took a CD case, which wasn't even a square, and a big pen, and I drew around it and I cut it out with scissors. And I made 3 or 4 twin size quilts that way. But then when I found out about rotary cutters, ooh, that was the fancy stuff, right? And then now I have the different types of rulers and stuff, and nice scissors, and better than just like a Walmart rotary cutter. So there's different levels. There's, you start with the basic tools that are might be at a lower level, because you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars just to start with if it might not be a hobby you want to do. And then when you know you're going to be doing it a lot, you do things that make your life and your body easier. I'll let some of the white reflect some of the greens and blues. That'll be nice. Yeah, I'm in good company when I talk to myself. I argue with, sometimes you've just got to say things out loud. But I don't live alone, and my cats really don't like when I talk to myself too much, because they're used to just a quiet. And then, if you hear it out loud, for me, if I hear something out loud, I'll be like, oh, yeah, no, that really sounds dumb, Robin. Don't do that. That's going to cause a problem. Don't skip a step. It's not a shortcut if you have to go back and fix something, right? Oh, your granddaughter's going to be 15. Yeah, see, when your kids age, it means nothing. But when your grandkids get older, except now, my kids are in, they're like 33 and 36, my older two, and Robbie's 26. Or maybe Justin's 37 now. I don't know. But when they start getting over a certain age, it becomes different because now I'm 56 and my kids are getting older. And at some point, I'm going to be 80 and they're going to be, they're going to be my age or 60. And to me, that just feels really strange. So if you had bead soup, this is really good because then you could just add all the different colors. I like bead soup that's separated by color and not just a hodgepodge of all. I mean, hodgepodge is great, but I like it. I like everything. You guys know me. I like everything separated by color. And then when I want something green, I can go for something green. All right, so I have this bit now. Let me tie it off. Remember, check out the other channels. Look for bead embroidery. Look for beaded keychains if that's what you want to do. You can do how to bead. You can also look up adding, I'm really tangled. I feel like I'm doing cat's cradle here. You know that thing where you go like this with the rope in your hands? There are also videos on how to add beads to quilting. And there's some really fun things about that. Maybe I could make a little beaded quilted project, knowing ahead that I'm going to want to add beads to it. I've got a loop. I'm just going to take that loop that doesn't belong because I got a knot. I'm going to tie a double knot in it, and it'll be fine. You just don't want your threads to come back to the top. But there's ways with quilting to help secure your beads, and it'll actually be able to, it could go through the washer and dryer if you needed it to, but when you have a stitching line, if you have a stitching line, you start your thread at the bottom up here, right? And you go under it, and the stitching line will hold your knot, and then you can add your beads and finish it afterwards. And it keeps it from being all loosey-goosey and stuff. So there's different little tips and tricks. Now, I'm going to attempt to make those flowers the daisies that just have the loops that, one of those first flowers we all draw. 52, oh no, yeah, see, it hits a certain age like that, and then that really makes you feel like you're older. Oh, the new blades. You can't just get regular blades for the Martelli. You can't just get whoever's blades. I'm not too much of a fan of matching all of the brands. I don't want to just buy Missouri Star blades to put in a Missouri Star cutter. I want to find a deal for 45 millimeter cutters somewhere else. You can go to, well, it was Big Lots and other places similar, but Big Lots is gone now, and just buy there's blades for cutting carpets and stuff, and they're the same blades that we use in our rotary cutters. They just last longer. All right, Sue, have fun. Hope you're wearing a life jacket and probably a helmet too. Oh, Denise, my children have been doing that for a while already. I let them do it for a little bit, but then I'm like, hey, listen. Just because I don't know all the latest and greatest and I'm not up on all of the hip stuff that kids are doing nowadays or whatever, doesn't mean I don't know anything or that I'm senile or something. I think I'm going to go with one of these. I've got bugle beads, one of these. And just because it's a bugle bead doesn't mean you can't add one of these on. And then one of these. I have a long white one that didn't get cut very well, so we'll put that in. A couple of these. You might have to add more beads or take some beads off. But to just guesstimate, whoa, beads go flying. They're like glitter. You find them everywhere. Okay. How did I know that that would happen? How did I know that that would happen? The very first bead I wanted to put on is not going to go over my needle. All right. Yep. You're a dud. You're a dud. How could you be such a dud, right? How could you do that to me? You go. There's, like, I have a crease right here that I can line the beads up in if I want all of them to be a certain way. This time I'm going to push them all down. Make sure they go. Yeah, my daughter is very overly protective. And sometimes she treats me like I'm 95, you know, suffered from a stroke, no good balance, can't think right, whatever, you know, pick whatever idea people have of someone who's older. She's like, that's okay, we can do this. I'm like, listen, child. Oh, that won't work. Again, even with the beading needles, sometimes you'll run across the ones that, I'm just trying to add these on, probably where you can't see. You'll run across the beads with the holes that just don't fit. I collect them over to the side. If I go through them a few times and I can't use them, then I'll just throw them away. But you can glue beads down too, you know. That's possible. And then just measure and see if you have enough to, like, make a little loop. I want some more. It's not a quick process, you know. Things take a while. This is a slow down, relax, a rainy day. You do it inside, outside. If you're not talking in a video, things always go faster. But then if I loop it around, add a few more somethings. Remember, whatever you put on first and you put on last, that's going to come to that center area. Sometimes I start out being all planned, and then at some point I'm like, that's it, I've had enough. And I forgot to double check that they're gonna go down the needle. All right. Now this is where a laying tool comes in handy, or a stiletto. You can kind of just figure out where it's going to go. You want all the beads to be touching. So you're only going to be able to, like, the bugle beads are going to stop you from going around a corner very easily and smoothly, but the little beads will help figure out where you're going to go down. And just like if you're doing the daisy stitch, a lazy daisy in embroidery, you don't want to pull it too tight because you could suck it all in. So I have my loop, and then somewhere at the top of my loop, I want to do a little couching stitch to hold it in place. I'm going through a bunch of seams here right now. And then you can kind of round it out and add a couple more to hold your loop in place. Right? I'd be like, hey, Laura, I'm hanging out with you, or I'm, you know, a relative or something. I'm like, okay, you're starting to feel a little better. What do you want to do? Now, remember, you just got back into feeling good. We can do that for a little bit, but if you start to feel tired, we should stop right away. But let's try it out. I'm all for taking care of the patient, but at the same time, that patient's going stir crazy. They need something. Okay, we can't go for a walk in a park, but how about if we put on a nature video? And because there's all kinds of videos of strolling like Central Park in New York. So we could put that on the TV and we can do a craft, you know, or talk or color or whatever. You have to do something because you go crazy. You might not be able to sit at your sewing machine or something, but we can hand cut out fabric. I've always suggested to people like crocheters and knitters that are down and out or in the hospital to go ahead and make like dishcloths, because it really won't matter if it's wonky. You can always just use it or take it apart, because people on pain meds think they can do things and they think they're making the Mona Lisa, and then when they get home and they're off those pain meds, they're like, whoa. So you can make something, you can do something. So I need to knot it, not the thread. But now, is this perfect and beautiful and gorgeous? Maybe, maybe not. But I've added a little decoration on it. I'm starting with a small project, getting my hands and my mind and my eyes back into doing this. And, you know, it's not horrible. I like it. I think it's pretty. But maybe I could do better, right? I mean, I know I can do better. But I have to start somewhere. I'm not going to make the most gorgeous thing. Right now it just looks like a bunny ear. But if I keep making these all the way around, it'll be a flower. And then if you want to put the stem and stuff on it, you can. Excuse me. Or you can just leave it as is, right? Right, exactly. I learned that when I had shoulder surgery on my right shoulder 3 times, I had to figure something out. I figured out that I could do those printed cross stitches or a printed simple beginner embroidery thing. So I could, even with my arm in a sling, I could hold the project or the hoop in my right hand and I could do it left-handed slowly. I never finished anything I started. I had one of those little baby blankets and stuff, but it kept me crafting and being creative, even though I couldn't do certain things. So you can sort your scraps. You know, maybe you can't cut, but you can organize your patterns. You can go on Pinterest and get far too many projects for when you feel better. That's always a dangerous thing. Make sure your thread is going to be long enough before you start. Now, all of your petals don't have to be the same. Thanks, Barb. Yeah, it's just fun, right? And sometimes I think you guys purchase things from my shop because you saw it in a video or in a live stream and you're kind of like enjoyed the process and you relate to it and you're like, oh, that was really kind of fun hanging out. Here's my memento from it. Like you went to Disney, but instead of Disney, you went to Robin's house. And we just kind of hung out and made something and learned something. I'm not the best teacher because my videography skills are crap, but I do the best I can to talk you through it and admit that, hey, you know, maybe you'll need to go somewhere else to get a little bit more detail. I don't have a specific channel for you because I just search, but you know, on YouTube and Pinterest, whoops, that one won't fit. Once you start searching, they're going to find all kinds of suggestions for you. And you know what? Some people are a little bit rude too. Just because a video is 5, 10, 15 years old doesn't mean you can't learn a technique from it, right? You can still learn how to do things even though it's an older video. A single crochet hasn't changed that much. There's new ways to do things a little, oh, come on, a little differently, but once you learn the basic, then you can go and check out those new fandangled techniques. Cross stitch is cross stitch. I think the reason I loved cross stitch is the colors and the design and the fact that some cross stitch you add beads to and you do embroidery stitches and stuff. So that's what I like. And by buying the packaged beads like this, I know. This is like buying a jelly roll or a charm pack. They all go together. Now you could find some that have a weird color thrown in that you may think doesn't work, but it probably does because they put it in there. But I always go back to my trick of searching for color palettes online. You can ask for, I like to go and say, well, what colors go with green? And they'll show you a picture of something with those colors in it, and then like the paint color swatches on the side, and then you can get ideas from there on what will or won't go together. Now you could have used different color beads for your petals, like yellow, orange, purple, whatever. But again, I just kind of, my loop wants to do what it wants to do, so I'm going to leave it right there. Now you can secure the end of the loop right here with a knot. From the professionally type beaders, I've noticed that they don't really care what they add to the back with extra string and knots and stuff. They just want to make sure everything's secure because they're going to put another back on it to cover it up. So it's not like quilting where you have to make the back look as nice as the front. I'm just going around my little loop here and I'm couching down wherever it feels like things want to move, or you can do it every third. I do recommend a stiletto or a laying tool. It is really helpful. A large pin. I use my yarn pins. These are really good. You can use that as a laying tool. Doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to go and buy it. You can use a chopstick or a toothpick. We're not adding extra. Oh, question. Now that we have everyone here, those of you that were with me on the last live stream, I mentioned that I was thinking about going live on the last Sunday of August on Patreon. Does anyone remember what I said we were going to go live and do? Was it anything specific? Because I can't remember. And if you guys are excited about something, I don't want to do something random if I was supposed to be doing something else. We may have just been talking about doing a video of only things like diamond painting, watching ads on YouTube. What do we got today? Oh, meet AI mode from Google. Well, thank you, Google. I appreciate your help. I do recommend a pin cushion. I always forget to have a pin cushion, so I've just put the pins in my mat there. It's really easy, especially with the needle, the beading needle, to lose it, so keep track of it. So if no one can remember, I'm really not going to go back and watch the whole video again. I'm just going to pull out, Jody sent me a kitty cat diamond painting card kit, and I have a couple little ones from the Dollar Tree. I thought we would just play with those a little bit and just chat to get a little bit used to of going over to Patreon, even though you'll find the link to the video on Patreon, but we'll still be watching it on YouTube. So it's not like you have to have a whole thing. It's just if you're a free member on Patreon, you'll get a notification if you've set it up that way to say that we'll be going live and when we go live and stuff like that. All right. I'm going to go till 1 o'clock and then stop. So I'm going to keep going here unless anyone has any random thoughts. I'll put more thread on my needle and I'll just keep making my little loops. You have to be prepared to make ugly things. Remember when you first started working with quilts, because that's most of you guys have done quilts, and you thought, I'm going to make a scrappy quilt and just use the fabric I have, and then you're like, oh my goodness, That is so ugly. I cannot believe I made that. Well, that's for the dog to sleep on. Whatever, right? It happens. Trying to see. Sometimes it's good to let the light shimmer off of your thread so you can figure out where the ends are. My daughter's cat got me. I think one of my cats got me, or I don't know, I stabbed myself somewhere along the line. Where's my beeswax? It'll help me make a knot. And then you can always run your thread over your beeswax. If you're using color thread or embroidery floss, just remember I keep two of these separate. One of them has like black and stuff and red and blue on it from doing this with embroidery floss. The color can leach out onto it. And then to get any clumps off, and it'll also warm up the beeswax, you can just run your hands through it. I don't know how good it'll be because my hands aren't warm. And then I'll just do this again. I like the little pops. There's little pops of shimmery blue in there and some of the white ones. So you can bring in a color. I mean, I have blue here. I have a little bit of yellow there, so I can bring those colors in. That's like not against the law, right? So I have some of these. I could bring in some of the oranges and the golds. And even these are like blues and black iridescents with the white. And I always have my fun soup. Oh, and I also love like blown glass, and I have this glass pendant that I purchased and I won't put on a necklace because I'm so afraid it'll break. And someone had soldered a piece. You could tell that this person was a beginner at doing this. They haven't learned, I don't know how, I've only watched videos. They haven't learned how to make everything smooth along there, so this is very rough and broken and stuff. And it's not really done very well. It's an earring apparently, but it's never been in anyone's ear and it's already kind of tarnished and stuff, and this loop doesn't move or anything. But you know what? Now maybe if they're still doing it, they've done a much better job and they've learned through practice. I've even done the bead weaving on a loom because I have a bead loom stacked somewhere. And I just love to collect pieces of glass. They're so beautiful to me. Here's one I wanted to show you. I mean, people do a lot of fun things. I've seen the people where they have like the glass rods and they'll like make glass beads and they'll make little blown things and stuff. It's just gorgeous. I know that's not for me. It's not something I should be doing, but I'll purchase from someone else. I really wish bead shops didn't have to only be online. I wish you can go into a building and just, look at the beads and touch them, because I really struggle with size. So some of these have blues and greens on them. So let me see how that looks. It's not all shimmery and shiny like the other ones, so I don't think that's the best option for this project. I think it would look good on the other side, but I still have some like see-through iridescent type green beads in here that are nice. So put some bugly beads on. Not everyone likes to work with bugle beads or knows how to, so it does take a little bit of practice. Nap time for Tracy. Bye. We'll see you next time. It could be the look they're going for. You're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know. I've had them for years. As I said, I'm not knocking anyone, I buy from beginners, and I do, all right, comparison is the thief of whatever. I will buy something or receive a gift from someone, and I will look at it because I want to see, did they do something I don't know how to do? And maybe I might notice and I might say it in my head like, oh, their zipper's crooked, or this seam, I'm going to have to go and sew this seam again because it's not a sturdy seam or something. I would never tell the person because I've sent out gifts and I'm sure I've sold something that probably wasn't the best that I could do, but it was the best I could do at the time with what I had on hand and stuff like that. Gosh darn it. Silly white beads, they just don't want to be part of my life today. So yeah, I mean, we all have to learn somewhere, and you have to learn by practice. I don't understand why so many people just get nasty online. I mean, our groups are really nice and supportive, right? We've all been there. Sometimes I've made something for the first time and it worked, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not making another one because I know it may not come out. Oh, look, there's little red and white ones in there too. It's probably not going to come out as beautiful as that one did. So I think I'll stop right here, But just keep measuring. Oh, that yellow green was nice. Let me add some more of this stuff. The glass mosaics. Oh, I used to watch that a lot too, and I'll go back and watch that every now and then. I really enjoy that. I just like things that are colorful, So it's fun. I go through moods. Sometimes just frustrated, angry moods because things won't go on. And yet I don't change the needle knowing that things aren't going on. So I can't complain because it's my fault. But this is the thing, like I can't hear you guys talking to me, so when I don't talk, I can hear the AC running. And, if I were outside, I might be able to hear the stupid pigeons squawking. But as long as they're not dive bombing me, I enjoy it. And it's nice to be quiet. I've watched live streams where the person doesn't talk, or they just whisper like this, or I'll turn the volume down, and it's just relaxing. At some point, I may or may not buy an actual camera and like the whole tripod thing so it goes down and you get the big bird's eye view. I've tried it with some of my other tripods, and it's okay, but it's kind of hard and it's not perfect. They have like these rigs that go over your table and stuff. And I figure so far so good. We've been able to do what we can do as is. I watch people, I love the idea of scrapbooking and like card making in 3D and stuff like that. I know that's not a hobby for me unless I buy like a kit. Scrapbooking is definitely not for me. Now this one is a little bit larger, but I bet you when you go out and look at flowers, every petal is not the same size. So that's what I love about YouTube is I could watch someone. Rob and I used to watch that old time guy on PBS. He was a young guy, and he would use all the old fashioned wood tools, and he'd show how to make different things, wood making, without electricity. That was always enjoyable. We don't always have to do the craft to enjoy the craft. So I'll let the professionals or the hobbyists do their thing, and I'll just hang out with them. Like you guys, most of you probably aren't going to do anything at all like this, but maybe you just want to hang out with a group of people that you enjoy hanging out with, making something. Because you're probably doing something else. you know, like laundry, a quilt. Denise says, I do believe in giving constructive criticism. I wouldn't want to let someone go on making a mistake if I see one, but I would ask them if they meant to do the thing I see is incorrect. Yes. If I saw someone struggling with something, I would want to give them a tip along the way. Like if you guys send me something, sometimes I'll just make a video. I'll be like, oh, someone's struggling with this. Maybe I can help them out by doing a video without like calling them out. If it was my friend and we were hanging out and stuff, I would really nicely, you know, help and support them and say, you know, like, can you show me this? Or do you need a little help with this? Did you like this? Whatever way you can say it in a nice way. Hey, sorry. Oh, damn it. I hate when I do that. Gosh darn it. All right, hold on, guys. Son of a gun. I stabbed that needle. Sorry about your ears. Almost to the bone. And I do boneheaded things like that all the time. I gotta go get a Band-Aid. I don't bleed on the project. Because I can call myself an idiot. Because when I don't pay attention, whether I'm alone or with everyone else, I do stupid stuff like that. I told you not to let me have needles. Oof. Oof. Sorry, don't look at the blood. Gosh darn it. As a reminder, if you get blood on a quilt, rinse your mouth out really well. Make sure you don't have chocolate or Cheetos in it. And then your own saliva takes blood off of quilts. Yes, I do believe in being supportive and helping people out. Some people, you know, you learn real quick. They don't want your support or your help or your criticism. So you have to know the person. I think we can all relate, right, Lee Allen? Oh. It's like, oh, my apologies though, because I'm a yeller when I get startled by something. My goodness. And it doesn't really need a Band-Aid, but I don't want to notice in 5 minutes that, gosh, I can't even put a Band-Aid on right. Look at that. I don't want to notice in 5 minutes that I got something on the project. You ever have those moments where you're just like, nothing's going right today, I tell you. But you take a breath, and then you go back, and you finish what you were doing, and the world is fine. Now, because I'm doing the bugle beads and the little beads and stuff, my petals are not round. Seltzer water will take it out too. I know peroxide. I learned peroxide in the ORs when I was doing housekeeping at the hospital. They kept gallons of peroxide to get blood out of their clothes. Oh yeah, I love going back and watching those people that go back. And now this is like, just to say that woodworker, we were watching him in like the 90s and early 2000s when he was on PBS at that time, but he was doing the old-fashioned way. He wanted to show how to do the pioneer stuff. And I just love going back and seeing that stuff. I watch cooking shows. Look, there's really, the only thing I don't enjoy, and I'm sure I'm not in the minority too far, but I don't enjoy things like Love Island. And I found I only enjoyed watching Big Brother with my husband. Now that he's gone, I just can't get into it anymore. I really enjoyed like the conversations with him about it. He really enjoyed it. I enjoyed Survivor. So we would, you know, it would be a thing we would do on those days of the week. Oh, it's Wednesday. Good. We're all going to sit down at 8 o'clock. I'm going to spend an hour or two or whatever with my husband. We're going to watch Big Brother and I'm going to crochet. So it was really nice to have those times. And that loop is really big and wonky. So I'm going to rein it back in. Well, my language was better on the live stream. Gosh darn it isn't always what I say. Grandma's secret spot remover. I did hear about that. I do get hooked a little bit on some of the reality shows. Now, okay, here's my point here. I know reality shows aren't real. They're scripted, right? But when I go into it and I'm watching it and I'm enjoying it as a TV show. Once people start showing behind the green screen and the green curtain or whatever and telling me all the secrets, and once I know 100% that no, it's not real, then I really don't enjoy it anymore. So I like to just watch the reality shows just for the entertainment purposes. They are dangerous to the actors and the families if they're, that's a glued up melted mess. If it's not done right, TLC is known for really kind of messing people up. But I do enjoy the reality shows. I just don't enjoy Bachelorette and ones like that. Yes, there's certain shows that are meant for certain people, and you just can't watch them afterwards. I lost a cat. Oh, nope, she's going back to bed. Yeah, so it's, you have things that you do, like if your best friend moves away, you watch certain things with them, you don't want to watch them again without them. It's just not the same. Yeah, they turn into millionaires and they don't know how to handle their money and the fame, and it really messes them up. And if you're doing, even on YouTube, if you're doing a show or videos with your kids just to make money, and you can tell when things are being shown for real and for entertainment purposes only. Rein it back in, Robin. Rein it back in. Let's add some more blues. I'm feeling so blue. So you guys have the basic idea, because we're almost coming up to 1 o'clock. I just want to say, to show that, hey, we can just kind of do things here without, being a master at it. We can do things for fun. When we show things online, sometimes people are really mean. Even if they're like, I don't want to be mean or anything. Well, then when you start out like that, don't say what you were going to say. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but, I was told when I was working in restaurants that you can't have a conversation with an employee if you use the word but. You did a really great job today, but. That part of it, we weren't allowed to do that as part of our managerial style and stuff. So it's like we just want to relax and enjoy. And if something is really, really precious to you and important, sometimes I recommend not putting it on social media. Sharing it with people like if you have a private account and only your friends see your stuff, that's great. But if you make something that might not be perfect, but it's precious to you and you really enjoyed it, sometimes it's best not to share it, because people can be mean on purpose and by accident. And now with all the AI bots out there stirring up trouble, it's kind of dangerous. And you don't want to walk away from your project feeling bad, So you just kind of watch who you share it with. Because even if you want to show it to us, we would love to see it. Just know that people that don't hang out with us regularly, non-subscribers, anyone in the world will be able to see it. If you just want, be like, Robin, I made this. I know it's wonky, but please, I want someone to ooh and ah over it. Just send me an email and tell me that. Hey, this is my first time. If you tell me this is my first time doing it and I love the process, I will be your biggest cheerleader. Because I know how it feels. I do my videos a certain way because I know how things feel. I know how it feels to be lost in a project, and sorry, I'm really rude putting it back there, and not getting lost and not understanding a pattern when everyone else in the comments understood it, and needing that little extra help, which is why I put all those extra tips and tricks into my videos, and I try to show all the little details unless I'm trying to hide it over here. So we all wanna be praised a little bit. I know it's not supposed to be what we do, but every now and then if we make something amazing. If you made your very first scrap quilt and you didn't worry about the placement of all of your fabrics, that's an achievement, All right. Now this, speaking of, hey, let's be nice, this is my first time, I did not space my bugle beads and little beads very well. So I'm going to recommend, if you want something that looks really nice, use all small beads and don't put bugle beads in it, because holy cow, Robin, look at look at that crazy flower, right? Okay. Sometimes it's that weed, it's that flower that's growing in the weeds, and it just came up somewhere, like that random watermelon plant that grew in your garden, and we're just surprised that it actually survived the winter or whatever, and we're just happy to see it. So that's what my flower is. Oh, I'm just happy to see it. Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate it. Have I ever watched Special Forces? Is that like just in general? Or Special Forces, a certain TV show? Rob and I used to watch when the Special Forces had to do all their tests and training, and they had to like stay underwater for 10 minutes and hold their breath and hold up a telephone pole and stuff. Yeah, we watched that stuff. That stuff was crazy because you knew that was like real. I enjoyed that a lot. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I need to make sure I finish these before I can turn them into anything. Oh, it's 1 o'clock. I don't have absolute plans, so I might sit here and watch another ad from YouTube. Oh, short one. I'm going to sit here and, I'm going to get lunch, and then I'm going to sit here and bead a little bit more. I'll probably take this one off because I don't like that sticking out there, or add more to it. And then at this point, once you have everything done, I would do that stay stitch. I do a short stitch length, as short as you can for the thickness. So for me, I do a 2.0, just to hold all the fabric and any thread that's in there. If you're doing something like this, you want to do the quilting first, because it's nearly impossible to quilt around all the beads. If I didn't bring out buttons, but if you want to put buttons on, it's just sewing on a button. You don't even have to, you could sew it like flat to it with a sewing machine or by hand. You don't have to like button a t-shirt, a shirt, or pants, so you don't have to have space underneath it. It can be nice and flat. You can glue buttons on, whatever works for you, right? So thank you guys so much for always hanging out with me. I know we're a small group, but that doesn't bother me. That means we can keep up with the chat and have a nice little small group and keep company with each other. The bigger the group, the more random rowdy people we might have, and it also draws in more of the spammers. So having a small group is enjoyable. I hope you guys got something done. I am going to keep working on this, and I am quilting all of my items. Tomorrow is Sunday. I like to hang out with my oldest, Justin, in the kitchen until 11 a.m. He does all of his weekly food prep cooking in the kitchen. And then I come back, I have lunch, and I come in my room. And I think I'm just going to keep working on the tote bags and the makeup bags and stuff like that. Check out the Etsy shop. There are some new items in there if you haven't seen them. The tool things are going to be on Instagram, and I've also started I showed you guys those gnome templates. I am working on a Halloween version of those, and I'm just kind of making it up as I go, so we won't know how ugly it is until it's done. So I'm making up some type of thing. I was thinking a mini quilt runner that goes either on a table or above a door, in that space between the door and the ceiling. So I want to make something like that. Enjoy your summer weather. I hear some people, it's starting to get a little cooler for the fall. Laura, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, And I hope that people let you do a little bit of something. Stand up for yourself and fight for it. But remember, you have to heal. So go slow. And we'll see you guys next time. Hoping to go live on the 31st over on Patreon. And we'll do something non-quilty over there. We were able to do this because it's got sewing in it. But I have to be careful of the algorithm so we can do weird things over on Patreon. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Hi, So Terry. I'm glad you can hang out. Angelic Feathers. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. And for all of my lurkers that are just listening, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Oh, it's a TV show? I'll have to look it up, Kathy. Thanks.